back with the Sunnyside View, and I have two special guests again. I was laughing as we were talking earlier because we got two letter people here today. We have Q Montgomery, whose official title is Pastor Quentin Montgomery. Quincy Montgomery. Say Quentin. Quincy Montgomery, but everybody knows that he's Pastor Q. You know, everybody know that. And then we got Lady V, Minister V, the Evangelist V, just amazing as well. So I'm super excited for the Venetta Smith as well to be hanging out with us. So we got Georgia and we got Cincinnati, Ohio, all in the building. Two of my favorite places.
Well, here's what you need to know.
Okay,
I'm from Detroit. Okay. So we all Midwest.
All right. Midwest. So Midwest is in the building. That's good because, you know, I'm in Atlanta, but I'm from Cincinnati. So
exactly.
Yes. Well, thank y'all so much. Listen, I wanted both of y'all on here tonight. Number one, as I said, y'all are the funniest people I know. Hilarious. But also, both of y'all really represent the Renaissance to me. Y'all excel in so many different ways. And so tonight, I know we were kind of, you know, as we're getting up there, y'all know I just turned 40, so it's been a thing for me. And so as I'm getting up there, I realized that some of the financial decisions that I made when I was younger, I'm still dealing with, right? And so, and there are some things that, you know, even right now, you know, we're starting to look at this long-term stuff. And I think I'm behind the curve. You know, I'm late. You know, I'm late with that. So I don't want anybody to be late. So I kind of wanted to create this content so that we can put it out, just give people some different options. As I was talking to V about it, she said something that resonated with me. She used the term financial flexibility. So I want to start off with that, Lady V. I want you to tell me, what is the definition? What does financial flexibility mean? What does that mean?
Well, I think for me and for most people, because I work in the mortgage industry, I think it's financial flexibility is more so knowing what to do with your money and being flexible with what you do, and making sure that what's going on in your life, that your money moves in the direction that you want your life to move. You know, some people want to buy a home just because that's what you should do when you become an adult, you know, but what if you're in a unique position where you love amenities, you travel all the time, this, that, and the other? Perhaps for your life right now, that's not what you need to be flexible with. Maybe you need to rent for a little bit because then you ain't got to worry about, you know, who's going to take care of the house, what's going, you know, all of that stuff. However, if you are coming to the place where, you know, hey, I want a little bit, you know, I want to start building equity, I'm settling down, I know that I want to raise a family at some point, then you start thinking about, okay, yeah, I need to put a little bit more away or move my money toward home ownership. Of course, I think that everybody should have a home because it's a great way to build equity and to begin your wealth. But that's really up to that person and knowing where they want to be ultimately. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it because, you know, your mama said that's what she did when she turned 21, 25, 32. You know, do it when it's right for you and when you know it's going to fit your lifestyle, because you may want your money to do something else for a certain amount of time. That's what it is. So that's my
I love that. No, I love that. And I love what you said about do what you feel is right with your money. I think so often we don't think about the cultural changes. We don't think about some of the missed opportunities or some of the opportunities that just came from different generations. You know, 20 years ago, the housing market looked very different than it does today. So 20 years ago, you know, we might have had some parents or siblings or aunties that had a very different financial understanding. Also, 20 years ago, maybe college wasn't as accessible as it is now. And so people went into the workforce earlier, so they had more equity to kind of move around to be able to make large purchases like a home at that time. I'm not saying that it can't be done now, but I do like to look at some of the generational things that come with that. So thank you for bringing that up. Hugh, what do you think when you think about financial flexibility? What do you think about it?
First thing that I think about when I think about financial flexibility is budgeting. Like it's the number one thing that I talk to all my clients about. Like, like really knowing what to do with your money. Like I think V made a great point of knowing your lifestyle, knowing what you really need at a particular time. Because there are a lot of people who come to me who want to buy homes who just right now, it's not the best thing for them to do. When you really look at their finances, their lifestyle, how they move from a day-to-day basis, what they really want to be responsible over. Like, you have people come to me all the time who they want a house, but they don't want to cut grass, or they don't want to, take care.
You preaching to me. Because baby,
baby,
I rented a house and it had y'all, it was like 2 acres. And I was like, oh, y'all, it's 2 acres. Till I realized I did.
You got to cut the grass.
And you have to have a lot. Right? You gotta budget. You can't push lawnmower 2 acres.
Yeah,
you gotta get the lawn. That's what I'm saying. And I didn't want to do that. So then I was paying somebody $100 a week.
Right. And that's all part of budgeting, right? So my big thing for people is just really knowing your finances coming into, whatever big purchase that you decide to make. And really like budgeting in a way that really allows you the financial flexibility that you need and that you want, right? Because like V said, if your money is not growing with your lifestyle, then you're making some bad choices somewhere financially. And so, I think for me and what I try to impart to my kids right now is learning how to invest and learning how to save. Everything that you see, you don't need to have, right? Here are some stocks. Here's what stocks are. Here are what bonds are. Here are IRAs. These are things that will grow your money. You can put them there. You can lock it in and just let your money sit for a while. Because, if I would have known all of these things when I was like 19, 18, 19, I'd be a millionaire right now, right? Yeah. But, I'm just now learning them in the last, let's say 5 years, where it's like really learning how to put my money in places that will grow for me later on. And so, I'm really trying to impart that into my kids and just simple budgeting through a checking account. Right here, you have a checking, you have a savings. When you get paid, telling my oldest son, like, pay yourself first. And he doesn't grasp that concept right off because he's like, what you mean pay myself? Like, I just got a check. And it's like, you got a check. But once you start having bills, that money becomes allocated to other places. So you have to learn how to. That
check be gone. Gone. That person a month check is a ghost.
Hey, the middle of the month check is a ghost.
No, I'm so glad. I'm glad that you said that. So I was talking to my oldest daughter, and she's a college student. And know she is brilliant. She graduated at 16, went right into college, is coming up on completing her second year because she did dual enrollment for, her senior year. But what I was telling her is that she's going back to school this next semester. Her school has gone up on housing because, the financial market is bad, right?
Crazy.
So now she received a scholarship from our church. Shout out to the Dream Center Church of Atlanta. We love you. She received a full scholarship for her 4 years, right? However, now her housing, if her housing is the same amount for what the tuition is, okay? So what I explained to her was, hey, you gotta make the math. I said, at this, last year housing was $1,700 a semester. This year it's going to be $5,000 per semester, which now gives it at $10,000 for the year. So I said, hey, let me help you, do some math, some real life math. Yeah. It would cost you about $4,000, $5,000 to get a reliable vehicle. You should get a vehicle, go to work, and drive back and forth and commute to school until you can afford to pay for that. I said, because you're going to be paying the equivalent of your scholarship in housing that doesn't mathematically make sense. You got to think differently. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, well, but I want to stay on campus. I said, I did too. However, so again, like that reality where you start to try to help them make because to me, I'm saying you're getting ready to try to work yourself crazy this summer to stay in a temporary place for a year when you could get a car that maybe would last you about 4 years. You know what I'm saying as we start to, break this down. So as we are talking to even this younger generation, because once they turn 18, the credit card companies start sending them stuff in the mail.
Coming after you, boy.
Yeah, they coming after you. Go ahead.
This is what I'll say to that, right? So I thank you for this example, because I have to have this same conversation with my son because he wants to live on campus and it costs $5,000. So I'm gonna give him the same example. But what I will say to the credit card thing, and this is a lot of things that most Black people don't do. I've had my son on my credit cards since, oh my God, since he was like 6. So right now his credit is better than
everybody in the house.
Yeah, like it's better than everybody's because he's had credit, a rotating credit, since he was like 6. Mm-hmm. And I actually learned it from a white gentleman that I work with at Procter & Gamble. Yeah, he told me like, yeah, man, my kids been on my credit cards forever. So once they go to college, man, they pretty much can go and buy anything that they want. And he was telling me like, you start them out early. You open up these checking accounts and you just build for them. So that's what I've done for my son, right? And so, that's something that I learned early on, just in terms of like having financial flexibility, right? Setting up my kid to be able to be great out the gate, as opposed to having to build it himself. I've already built it over these last 12 years to where he can now step out on his own, have a little bit more, comfort in knowing like, look, I got good credit. I can go buy a car if I wanted one, and I don't need to ask my dad. Have a little money because my dad doesn't set me up, And so these are the type of seeds that we have to plant in our children, right?
That's good.
That nobody told my mom or nobody told, my uncles and my aunts or whoever, we, like you said, when I got into college, that first 2 weeks, they was sitting on the steps like, would you like a credit card? And I tore my credit up. I tore it up. It took me, I think 6 or 7 years after I got out of college to get my credit in order, because I just literally went crazy during college, right? Yeah. And so, we have to really start thinking smarter and working a little smarter, not harder, in helping our kids be great financially. I think for us, we get a little afraid sometimes to really talk money with our kids, because it opens us up in a way that, may expose our ignorance, right?
Oh, no, that's good. I got what you're saying.
Because kids are being taught about money a little differently in school now than we were. Like, let's just be honest. Like, and they have so much access to different information that we never had. And so what it does is, we can be exposed a little bit like, nah, I didn't know what, that meant, or I didn't know what this meant. And so, they become the educators to us in some circumstances.
Yeah, because these babies on YouTube being billionaires.
They know.
And I mean,
opening up toys, V, they opening up toys, and the kids watching them.
That's crazy. They do their own unboxing, all kinds of stuff, making dolls. Yeah. When it got to my age, when it was me, this is the financial flexibility that I got from my parents. My dad sat me down, and I had a certain amount of money that, came from like a little trust fund. And he did me like the Cosby Show. Okay. You remember that Cosby Show where Theo had to figure out what life was like, and his daddy gave him that Monopoly money? That's basically what my daddy did to me. He was like, okay, you got $10,000. Out of that $10,000, I bought you a car. And so I'm recouping my money. Okay. You got this. This is your doctor bill. you got $1,000 left. What you want to do? You want to go to community college, or what you gonna do? Figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But these kids, they opening up businesses. They got money in the bank, and I'm like, y'all teach me how to do it.
I did the same thing with my kid, but I took the Cat Williams method when he was like, I told my kid, you can have these Jordans, which cost $200, or I can buy you 4 pair of these Adidas. Which one you want?
Yeah.
And when you start making it sense like that, right?
Yeah.
It click a little different. Because now my son be like, Dad, I do like the Jordans, but I know I can go get these Air Max, and I can get another pair of shoes and maybe some jeans too.
Yeah.
Like, now we talking.
Yes.
And that's the same way we have to plant seeds in terms of money. In terms of, okay, you got $1,000. And this is what I tell my son all the time. If you got $1,000 check, at least 300 of that go to you. Put it in the bank. Put it away. Savings account. So really, you got $700 to play with. You know what I mean? Learn how to budget based off of that. You done put your money away. You done paid yourself that money. You don't touch it. Let it sit there. It was never existed. Yeah. Right? Now you got $700. You play with it the way you need to play with it. You got a car, allocate $100 or $200 to gas, because you know you're gonna be whipping and running, right? So now you got $5. What do you do with that $5? If you want some shoes, but they a little pricey, well, you put $100 away, or you put $50 away, and you just wait until you get paid again. You put another 50 with it, and then you buy. That way you're not exhausting all your funds at one time. And so
you're not emotionally spending. We also teaching them that you're not, I gotta see it and I gotta get it. I think the what you mentioned was spot on. I don't know if either one of y'all have heard Apostle Otis Lockett. He was just amazing. He's from North Carolina, I think Durham, but just an amazing man. I met him one time and he was preaching somewhere, and he said he was talking and he said, I don't know how he got on the subject, but he said, if you save high and spend low, you'll never be broke. He said, if you got $100, if you save $60, and even if you spend all 40 of the rest of it, you still are saving more than you spent completely. When I tell you, I wish somebody would have told me that when I didn't have no bills, because it's hard to do that when you got real life bills, right? Yeah. But that's something that I'm trying to teach, the next generation. Like, hey, if you getting $100 on a paycheck, put $60 away. You can spend the whole 40 if you want, okay? But
60-40.
I'm just telling you, hold on to that, okay? And of course, we're just using this as an example. Of course, all three of us, we believe in tithes and offering and love offering. For sure. So, outside of that, but if you got $100 going on left after you've taken care of what you're doing with God and what you're doing with the house of God, then that's how you split it. And so I really wish somebody would have said that, because I felt like that would, as a child, because that would have gave me that financial flexibility. When I think back onto how much money I was making and wasting, Q, you saw me, you would come up to the pool all the time. I was making a ridiculous amount of money doing nothing, and I ain't had no bills, no kids, nothing. And I just would be like at Walmart, like doing dumb
just
stuff.
Buying up stuff.
Because you got
I need a new air fryer. I just want all the things. Trust me.
So let me ask y'all this. So as we, kind of talked about that financial flexibility, we started to talk about home ownership options. I know both of you work in this sector. And as I just mentioned, I thought I wanted a house until I rented a house and I had to mow the lawn. And now I'm in a condo and I'm like, I think I'm about to buy this condo because I love it. I ain't got to do no yard work. I love everything about it. It's got all the bedrooms I need. Everybody got their own room. I'm set. But let's talk about some of those home ownership options. And I would love for you to talk about, if your world is not perfect, right? So if you ain't got perfect credit, or you may not have the, is it the liquidation money? I don't know what it's called, but whatever it is, look at me. I'm using words I don't know. I told both of them, I said, this is y'all wheelhouse, so y'all school me, please. But what are some options? V, tell us a little bit about what you do in this sector, and then hook us up.
Okay. Well, I'm actually a closer. So I'm on the very back end of the process. So I am the one who creates the closing documents that the homeowner is going to sign on the dotted line. I'm the one who sends the money to all the parties involved. And I also make sure that everyone throughout the process did what they were supposed to do. So I have a good vantage point because I've seen the process from start to finish, and I kind of know where to go back and stop things if I need to, if a client has not been given, all of the credits and things like that they deserve, things like that. What I think home ownership starts with is knowing really what you want. I think because as a homeowner or as someone who is wanting to purchase a home, it's one of the scariest decisions that you'll ever make, right? You don't know that much about the process, and you've got all of these parties. You've got a realtor that's going to try to find you a home. You got a loan officer, you got a processor, you have all these people that are going to be involved in your transaction. So I would say, as much as possible, educate yourself on what you really want. It kind of goes back to how we were talking about the budgeting and all of that, because you can do a pre-approval and get approved for a $700,000 home. However, do you need a $700,000 home? That's just your buying capacity. But maybe right now, there's some other things that you want to do in your life. Maybe you want to start a business and all of that stuff. So you don't need a $700,000 mortgage note every, however many thousands of dollars that is per month. Maybe you need to cut that in half and look for a 350 or between 350 and 500. So you have wiggle room. You know that if you need to spend that 700, you got it. But if you need to make it easy on yourself and something that you're not going to have any trouble paying on a regular basis, then put yourself in that mode. So I would say that that's really where you should start off with. And the reason why I say that is because I can't tell you how many times we get to the closing table, the loan has been underwritten, approved, cleared to close, and at the very last minute, the client doesn't have enough money to bring to the closing table to close the transaction. And it's because really they kind of overspent, because you have to think about the expenses that come with, getting yourself approved for a home loan. You got to get your home inspection, your appraisal, your credit reports. You know what I'm saying? All of that has to be thought about, when you're making that decision. So I would say really to start there, and don't allow, even though I love loan officers, I love realtors, we can't do business without them. Keep doing what you do. But they're salespeople, and they're going to try to upsell you and because their commission is based off of how much you spend and all of that stuff. But you have to know what your true intention is and where it's going to be best suited for you and your family in terms of what you want to spend month over month on your house. So that's where I say I'd start, because I've just seen this go, awry too many times.
Wow. Thank you. No, that's amazing. Q, you was ready. You was ready to go in. He was like, oh yeah.
I was. So what I want to say and how I want to start this is this. If you have a realtor who tries to push you into something that you're not financially ready for, you have the wrong realtor. Let me start there. That's a predator. That ain't a realtor. But in buying a home, I always tell people exactly what V said. Like, look, you have to know what you want. Like, have to know, because the thing is, I can get you what you want, but it may not be what you're ready for, right? And so me knowing what you want and then being able to connect you with the right mortgage lender and, taking you through, doing your homework. Like I tell people all the time, do your homework. You got to do research when you buy houses. You got to research where you want to stay. You got to research the schools, neighborhoods, like all these different types of things. Like, you know, you have to research your realtor, because again, like, you don't want to get a realtor who's going to be a predator and just take you out and just be like, yeah, you want this house? Okay, yeah, it costs 1.5, and yeah, you may be, you know, qualified to get a house for 1.5, but you're gonna be house poor. You're not gonna be able to pay.
Wait, that's heavy. Wait a minute. The people I know somebody that told me, whatever you do, pay that mortgage, even if you gotta sit in the house in the dark. And I said, if you gotta sit in the house in the dark, you couldn't afford that.
You couldn't afford it.
You can't afford it. Yeah, that's the thing.
100.
And I mean, this is the thing. Like, you know, you want
sit with no lights on. And your lights not on. You got.
Hey, you'd be surprised how many people do it. You'd be surprised.
That's wild though. That's wild to me. I've never heard the term house poor, but it literally makes so much sense when you just say it. So keep going. I'm sorry, Q. Keep going.
So yeah, like, you don't want to get a house and be house poor. You don't want to be out here paying a mortgage that's $5,000 a month and you make $5,200 a month. Yeah, it just don't add up. Yeah. It just don't add up. Yeah, you can afford it, but you can't pay no other people. You're gonna be walking. You know, so I always tell people that, like, you know, and then I always tell people, like, don't go look at houses before you get approved for whatever it is that you can buy. You know, you're going to look at $1 million houses and you only qualify for 250. You're setting yourself up for failure, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, like, in buying a home, man, it's really strategic, and it's really a process of where you have to be very well informed. And the best thing you can do is to educate yourself, and then really make sure that you're educated about the person that you hire to help you find that home, that realtor, because, you know, that's going to be your best friend throughout the process, because your realtor is going to connect you with your lender, and your closer, to V's point. Like, you know, all of these people work in tandem to help the person trying to obtain a home get what they need at the right price in the right market. Like, all of these things work together. And so if you're out here just winging it and you just have somebody who's just leading you from here to there, it's the blind leading the blind, you know. Right. They just want the money. You know, they just want the money, and they'll take you wherever you say you want to go, and they'll just let you do what you want to do. I always walk my clients through every step of this process. You know, like, when I do my first time homeowners classes, I walk them through the entire process. I bring people in, I bring in my lenders, I bring in my closers, my title agencies. I bring in people that help you with credit repair, you know, because that's vital, because there's a lot of people who are just on the cusp of getting a house, and there's one or two things they need to do. Well, I got somebody that's going to help you with that. You know, and so, you know, all of these things are vital into, like, getting a home, man. And, you know, like I was telling you before we got on, you know, a lot of people, they tell themselves that they can't get a house, you know, or that they can't have before they actually get out here and find out. Like, I was talking to a person earlier where, you know, it was like, oh man, well, I'm almost ready. Or I'm almost, you know, I'll be ready when I get this paid off, or I got to do this first. And it's like, really, it's not that they're not ready. It's just they're afraid, you know, because buying a house is the biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life. Right. Like, hands down, it's the biggest purchase you'll ever make. And so it's like, unless you're a business person who really out here making big moves, but even still, they probably got $1 million mansions. So it's like, this is one of the biggest purchases. And so a lot of people psych themselves out. I know people that make well into six figures who still live in apartments, who still live in townhomes, because they don't believe in their mind that they can afford everything that goes into home ownership, right? Yeah. And so, you know, we have to do better as people in educating each other and ourselves you know, what it takes to really get into this thing. You know, I tell people, like, look, man, come holler at me. I'm going to put you in contact with a lender, and we're going to figure out where you are. Because once I know where you are, it help you get to where you need to be. But if we never find out where you are, then you're just gonna always be out here floating in the wind, and eventually you're gonna fly away because the wind gonna blow too hard. Right. So I need you to get grounded so we can know where you at, so we can begin to run the race. So,
no, that's imperative. That's imperative. Knowing, like basically you're saying you got to know where the starting line is. You got to know. You got to come to the race and know where to start, so we can help you make sure that you're ready to run. So no, I absolutely, both of y'all are hitting so many amazing things, and it brought up something that I heard a leader say, and I want to hear y'all take on it. So I heard this leader talk. It was a building that basically they paid the building off, and in paying the building off, the in the meeting with the board, they said, oh, okay, we paid this building off, now let's make a purchase for another building. And one of the board members said, and this was their exact quote, and I didn't really agree with how he said it, but what he said was, I don't agree with that. That's what poor people do. And everybody kind of looked at him like, what are you talking about? He said, when you have a mindset of poverty, when you get something paid off that is yours, you buy something else that you cannot afford to immediately own. And so I didn't agree. I didn't agree with the way that he said it, but I understood what he was saying. He was trying to say in that particular instance that there was no need for another building. He was like, the building we have is phenomenal and it's ours. Why don't we utilize this for a while before we make another purchase that is going to, again, goes back to, I think what you just said was essentially they had made a purchase that was too much for them. It was stressful for them for 10 years. And he was saying, I don't want to be stressed for the next 10 years again, right? That's how he really could have said it. But it made me think about how often I see us as just a community that when we pay off a car, we go get another car. Right? Instead of holding on to this car that works, that is in good, because we had to keep it up to keep it running. Now I ain't talking about, you done paid it off and you need a new car. I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying how we think that means that I paid it off and then next week I got a new one. I turned that one in, I got a new one. What do y'all think about that particular mindset? Is there merit to it? Does it matter? How does this affect equity? What really comes from that? What do y'all think? What are y'all thoughts on it?
I just kind of feel like I agree with the person who said, hey, let's chill out for a while. The reason why I feel that way is because if you think about it in essence, let's say you no longer have a mortgage and your mortgage was $2,500 per month, right? That's $2,500 that is back in your pocket every month. And do you still want the same thing? Like, what can you do to move your life forward in another way? Do you need a new house? And I'm just using a house as an example because we've been talking about ownership. But do you really need a new house? Or can you take, a couple $1,000s and renovate little things that you want, and it'll still work for you? And figure out, okay, what else do I want to do with my life, with my time? What's most important to me now? And now you have more flexibility to do those things. Now, if the answer is, I got everything I want out of life right now and I just want a bigger house, then do the bigger house. But make sure that you at least think it through. Don't just go right into the next thing. If your car is working, it's running, you liked it when you first bought it. You know what I'm saying? So is it just, you just want something bigger and better now because you just want to, are you trying to flex or are you trying to really enjoy your life? You get what I'm saying? It took me a little while to get here, praise God for, being more mature in these last and evil days. But that's what I think about. Like, if you had to ask me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, fam, I'm going for the new house, period. But now I'm like, no, I'm good with my house. I think I want to be able to travel and go somewhere, every quarter or, things like that. So I say at least before you make those types of decisions, really put some thought into if that's really the best move for you or not.
Which is financial flexibility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Q, what about you?
I think it really boils down to just discipline, right? We get excited when we think we got free money. You know what I mean? Like we get ourselves.
You not lying, because it's tax time and the people are going crazy. Okay,
they going crazy. So we get excited, man. Like, oh, I got this money. Like, I just paid the car off, and now I was paying $650 on the car, and now I got a free $650.
She talk about whole bodies getting done in tax season.
Period. Listen. Everybody's going to Mexico. Period.
Everybody. And they be lopsided, though. They be lopsided.
They're going to come back looking a different kind of way. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you were like this last year. You right. Ooh.
Well, like this yesterday.
Keep going. We ready.
Yeah.
No, that's for real though. Free money be having people lost.
Crazy. And so, like, it is discipline, man. It's about discipline. Because here's the thing. Not having a bill actually puts you in a space where you become a little reckless.
Yeah.
Bills give you structure.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose a bill, you lose structure.
This is a different type of preaching right here, okay?
Yeah, you lose structure. When you
walking heavy, Q.
You lose structure for your money.
In your voice.
Bills really help you keep your money in line. It's the best tool for somebody who's not financially literate and who don't have the discipline to actually save money.
Yeah.
So now,
I agree.
When you lose your bill, what Biggie say? More money, more problems. Now it's a problem because you have more money that you are responsible for to really allocate in a responsible way.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you no longer have that bill that says, hey, I need you to give me this.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So it's really about discipline. What are you doing to really get yourself in a place where you are building good financial habits, and really not putting yourself in a rut? Now, in response to the story, I agree and I disagree. Here's my thing. If you've gone through 10 years of struggling to pay a mortgage and you just want to say, you know what? Nah, I don't want to do that again. Cool. I agree with that. Learn from your situation and apply it to the next. Because here's the thing. To have one property is good. To have two properties is better because now you're diversifying your portfolio. You're adding two.
That's good.
If you went and you had this property and the property was killing you and like, I can't afford a property where I'm paying $2,500 a month, well, go find you a property where you only got to pay $1,000. It doesn't mean that the property's no good. It just means that you learned from your first mistake and now you're applying it to a new investment. Keyword, investment. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
And so now you're still saving money, $1,500, right? There's the discipline. But you've added to your portfolio and you're not spending money that you didn't already have allocated for something else.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And so you're winning, you're growing either way. Yeah. And so, I agree, but I disagree because my thing is I want to always continue to build.
Yeah.
But I also want to learn from my mistakes. I want to learn from the things that didn't quite go right and continue to grow in that way as well. So it's like I grew in my knowledge and my understanding, but I also grew in a space to where I can go out here and grow my investments too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, that's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I definitely, I felt like it was, honestly, I felt like that particular discussion in that boardroom that day made me just look at how I made my purchases differently. Again, like, do I need to go get a brand new car if the car that I have currently works well? If I don't got to worry about it breaking down, I may not need that. Now, again, back to financial flexibility, I'm talking about for my life. I got 7 kids.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? 2 of them are teenagers, which means I'm getting ready to have to purchase 2 cars, right? So I understand that I may want a motorcycle, but I mean, 5 kids can't fit on the back of a motorcycle. You know what I'm saying? So financially, it doesn't make sense for me right now. Give me a couple years when all these kids is out, and y'all just I'm gonna be in a motorcycle gang. Everybody believe it. But absolutely. I think one of the lessons, probably one of the greatest financial lessons that I've learned, came from a previous colleague of mine. We worked for a nonprofit. She used to work at a sleepaway or a resident camp every summer. So she did that as a teenager. Then she went to college. When she graduated college, she started working at a resident camp year round. Now, if you look up resident camp financials, or if you look up how much they make annually, their salary, they're only making maybe around $35,000 a year. Most people with a college degree are not going to look at a $35,000 salary. But what you don't realize is that when you work at a resident camp year round full time, they are giving you housing, they're giving you food. Typically you will get a cell phone, like a job cell phone, or they will pay up to 20% of your cell phone. You don't have to pay any bills. There's the Wi-Fi is all included. You got free housing, not just for you, but you and your family. So if you got 7 kids like me, they're going to find you, they're going to have you space on the camp for all of your children. And you work there. So what she did was she worked there I think she ended up working there like 6 years. Came out of working there. I met her last year. She came out working there. She had perfect credit. No school loans because she paid everything off. Because really, she literally got $35,000 in her pocket that she just kept putting in accounts that accumulate
IRAs.
Interest. Thank you. She was putting in the IRA. Thank you. So she kept putting in the IRA, tens of thousands of dollars each year. So it kept growing. When she left, she bought a car in cash and she bought a house in cash, and she had perfect credit because all she did was she lived for free essentially. And she didn't buy a car, nothing while she was there. Cause she was like, I can drive a camp car. So now she got this college degree, perfect credit, got a brand new house, got a brand new car, off living her best life, and has started her career that she actually went to college for. I wish somebody would have told me this when I was 18 years old. Okay.
You and me both.
And the gag, baby, the gag is that these type of opportunities are there. There are residential, if you like working with kids, there's residential camps, all kinds of things all over here that are just waiting for people who are passionate. And these are nonprofit jobs. They're not going to be, you're not making $1 million, but you're making a true $35,000, $40,000 that is going, which after taxes, most of us are making anyway. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
When you start seeing it, you're like, wait a minute. But I wish somebody, just the financial know-it-all that she had to say, if I sacrifice and work for 6 years here, year round, I'm going to be set for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's just people's different experiences. And I'm always trying to make sure that we can kind of, as we start to create these things, as we talk about equity for the generations, there are different ways of doing that. It may not be like the previous generation, it may not be like, anybody that's ever done it before. My pastor right now, he tells us, Venetta, we go to the same church, and our leaders will tell us like the stuff that's getting ready to happen, ain't nobody ever seen it before. You're legendary. This is a legendary season. And so when I think through that, when I think about that equity for generations, what do y'all think? How imperative is it for, maybe what is equity first? Because maybe everybody don't know. What is equity first? And how imperative is it for the next generations in your family, in your community, in your church, in your local space? How imperative is it?
Well, in terms of home ownership, equity is just that, ownership. Like, it's what you own as opposed to what you owe. And so equity is imperative, right? Equity can help you build your at least your home portfolio. You know what I mean? Like it can help you build, because a lot of people, one of the first people that I ever came in contact with is a guy who he owned a home, and he used to buy new cars and all this stuff. And I used to ask him all the time, like, man, how do you just continue to buy stuff? He says, man, I got a lot of equity in my house. And so I just pull it out when I need it. And that was before I knew what equity was. So I'm just like, okay, that don't make sense to me. But it makes perfect sense to me now.
Right.
Which is why I always tell people, like, if you're an investor or even if you're buying a home, I try to tell people, and I always work to get the lowest price for my clients, because I want them to have equity, right? You know, even if you're buying a starter home or an investment home, you know, let's think about it in terms of how much equity you can pull from this. You know, like the house may only be $30,000, but once you invest, let's say another $30,000, now it becomes $150,000 home, just because you put $30,000 into it, right? And so it's a lot of sweat equity that goes into that, but the equity that you get in that home is amazing once you've, you know, invested your time and your work into it. And so, you know, equity is very, 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 very important. And it's something that we all need to learn about in terms of putting ourselves in the right positions to acquire it, right? Like getting a home is good, right? But me personally, I'm not buying a home that is completely finished. Like I at least want to have like a basement or be able to upgrade some bathrooms or something, because that creates my equity, right?
So what Denzel Washington say? I'm leaving here with something.
Something. Yeah. You gonna give me something. Like, because my thing is like, especially if it's a starter home, I know this is not gonna be my home forever, but I want to set myself up for like 5 years down the line when I'm ready to sell it. I want to be able to, you know, what I would do is once I buy that house, I'm gonna have a 5-year plan on how I'm going to upgrade this house. So when I do sell it,
you're gonna make
I came in at 150, but I'm leaving out at 300,000. Because I've done the upgrades over that 5-year plan that allows me to have that kind of equity, you know, especially when people come out and they appraise it and they be like, uh-oh. And that's what people look for when they buy houses. What have you done to this house? You know, like it's the same house that in essence that you bought from the beginning. So it's like, hey, if it looks the same, you know, then I don't want to pay you more for a house that you bought 10 years ago that looks exactly the same. So those type of things is things.
And I'm not the type to go into any space and leave it looking the same. Like it need to look like Sonny was in there. You know what I'm saying?
Better than when you found it.
You'll be surprised. I just sold a house where the gentleman that had the house did nothing to it the entire time he was there. The entire time.
But you know what? He might not have known either. He might. I mean, you know, when you know better, you do better, right? Look at me trying to help.
You should.
You should. Yeah, you should.
It's about that mentality, though. It's about that mentality.
For sure.
V, what do you have to say about it? Oh, about so the second part of that question was really about how imperative is equity, and then after how imperative is equity, how does it affect, you know, the next generations? You know, is it important? Does it matter? And I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, maybe people don't have kids. I ain't talking about that, but I'm talking about even when I upgrade, you know, what am I leaving my parents? You know, what am I leaving my brothers and my siblings, or, you know, whoever you know, maybe I have a a house and I want to turn it into a children's home. I don't know. So, how imperative is that, V, would you say?
I think it's super imperative to whatever it is that you have. I think another word for equity is value. If out of 100%, I want the most of that 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because that means I own that. I have all the value of what I put into it. That means I've worked very hard to make sure that any good thing that comes out of this, I can access and get a hold to if and when I need it. So I think it's imperative for that reason. And I think that it's important for other generations to really understand this as much as possible and as early as possible, because especially I want to, just talk about our community, the African American community. I've seen so many times where, someone needs a big lump sum of money, but we didn't have homes. We didn't have homes that we had equity in. So if we needed to have resource, we don't have that we hadn't had that resource. I don't think that that's the story now, but the reason why I think this is important is because we need to build generational wealth, and not only just generational wealth, but also familial wealth. You know what I'm saying? Like within my family, there's, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, this, that, and the other. But if we're all, have some form of equity, if we need to pull together to make sure things are done for our family, then we can do that without having to stretch ourselves or for anyone to go broke trying to get things done. You know what I'm saying? And equity builds equity. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, you continue this momentum of always having, just like when, instead of always being short, So I think that that's very important, and you leave something for not just the generation after you, but even how the Bible says several generations after you. But you do that because you built up something that's worth value, that you can access and someone else can access when you're no longer around. I just think that I see so many other I see that happening in a lot of other communities. And they really think about it. You have a lot of communities where they'll live with each other in one house. They'll buy one really big house, and there's enough room,
everybody live together.
My husband and kids, they husband and kids, mama and daddy, everybody got their space, so that when they're, just like you were saying, Sonny, with the young lady who was working at the camp, she was able to put most of her money into her bank accounts and saving that stuff up because she didn't have those other expenses. So that when she was ready to do other things, she was set up, So it's like, it's kind of like being your own bank.
And I'll That's say powerful. This one of the best things that you can do to create equity in your family is get life insurance. Because when you die, you become a bill. And then you so get life insurance, because what it does is if you have a policy that covers all of your expenses and then pays out, you've created equity with your passing. So get life insurance. Tell people that all the time.
Listen, y'all.
And don't borrow off of it.
Don't borrow off of it. Yeah. A lot of people do that, but don't borrow off of it. Just go get it. I have multiple.
And if it's time for you to go on to upgrade, you don't have to get the shiny box if you can't afford the shiny box. They've upgraded. This their body. I tell the Saints all the time. My husband hates it. I say it, but I tell him, let me tell you, Big Brown, if Big Brown is listening, he hates when I say this. I told the people, I said, first of all, I got 7 kids. Y'all go ahead and burn me. Y'all split the money. Y'all can sprinkle a little bit of my ashes on each one. Put it a little locket if you want to take it. That's going to cost less than $1,000. Let's do that. Y'all keep the rest and be blessed. But I'm like, am I getting ready to spend $20,000 on a box that you about to make, that when you really pay attention to some of the stuff that you signing, some of them you only renting for 80 years. Just pay attention to how often these cemeteries buy additional land, and you'll figure out real quick, people are being buried on top of people. You are wasting money. So I'm like, yo, life insurance is, and it's inexpensive, especially the earlier you do it, it's inexpensive. And so I'm like, you talking about equity. I'm like, Jesus, please stop having people. Don't have your family out here needing to raise money in order, because then they have to raise money in a short amount of time. It's just too much. Yeah. It's too much.
And it creates generational wealth. Like, it really does. Yeah. Like, a lot of people are ignorant to that fact, that if you get a life insurance policy, like I have, like my life insurance policy is, I have one that's 100,000. I think I have another one that's like 160,000 at this point. It ain't no way that I'm spending all that money to get up out of here. But it'll go to my boys. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And I've invested a lot of money while I'm living to pay for these, high accounts. But when I'm gone, my boys ain't got nothing to worry about. Because to your point, Sonny, bruh, throw me in the fire.
Listen.
Throw me in there, Doc.
In the fire. I want them put me in the fire, start a scholarship for single mothers that want to go to college. Get my kids the rest of the money. Like, please, y'all, good. Please.
Because I'm going to have me a heavenly body, because I'm going to heaven when I die. Okay?
Yeah, I'm going to be walking with the angels. I ain't going to care nothing about this.
Nothing about it.
Go on and live it up, children.
Y'all have been amazing tonight. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate just all of y'all wisdom. Y'all hilarious. Is there any? I feel like we said everything that we came to say. So I definitely want to thank you. Can y'all tell the QV? Can y'all tell the people how they can get in contact with you? V, we'll start with you. Do you have any social media or email that you would like people to follow, or a website?
Absolutely. You can follow me on all social media outlets at She Me Lady V. So that's She Me Lady V, all one word, and that will work across all social media platforms. And I would love to connect with you and have some hilarious giggles and give you wonderful wisdom and tips about life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. All of it.
For sure. For me, it's I got a lot, but the one that I would direct everybody to is my author Monty Quinn. That's where you can find me on Instagram, author Monty Quinn. I'm a writer. I write poetry, and I actually have a mental health book coming out here pretty soon. So find me on there.
Book number what? Book 2?
6.
Book 6. Book 6.
Yeah.
But it's like the second one in like the last couple years though, right?
Yeah, so this is the second one in the last couple of years. Been putting out books since 2011. So cool. So follow me on author Monty Quinn, or you can go to authormontyquinn.com and you can find me on there as well. And reach out to me. Website. We can talk about everything.
It's the website for me. We appreciate it.
I know, right? Come on, website.
Author Monty Quinn. Okay.
authormontyquinn.com. Come see about me.
Listen, thank y'all. I feel like just anybody who has listened to this, if you didn't get anything else tonight, financial flexibility is the way to go. Make sure when you say it, make sure you credit Lady V. Lady V is the one that said that to me the first time.
Thank you.
Make sure, go ahead. You don't you put it on no t-shirt without giving it to her. It's trademarked. But financial flexibility is where it is. So I hope that you heard something tonight that encouraged you, that made you believe that nothing is impossible. So let's go ahead and let's continue to celebrate together. Thank y'all so much for hanging out on the Sunny Side View with me. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Y'all. We gonna hit y'all up next week. We got some more amazing guests that'll be continuing to meet with us. So continue to listen in, subscribe, like, share, and make sure that you always remember to have a sunny side view.
My name is Sunday Joy, and thank you for listening to my mom's podcast.